This is Gerard or Jerry Salame. I am recording a test tutorial on how to optimize PLAX views. And in this recording and tutorial, we're going to be talking about how to fix a capped image and how to identify what a capped left ventricle appears like. In addition, we'll talk about the normal motions needed to adjust for the presence of papillary muscles. As you can see here, the IVS is horizontal, and the IVS represents this line here between the RVOT and the LV. And for further demonstration, I'm going to adjust the probe here so we can see the RVOT, the LVOT, the left atrium, the LV. The leaflets of the mitral valve and the aortic valve are present here. And ideally, you should have a nice wide open left ventricle, and there should not be a cap to it. And so what we mean by capping, if I look down, you can see that my dot is pointing towards the right shoulder in parallel to the long axis of the heart. And when that's the case, the LV is wide open. But when I cap, what happens is that I'm rotating my probe off axis. And suddenly we see this sort of capping or the sort of apex of the left ventricle. Now, be clear, this is not the true apex of the LV. This is a foreshortened view where we're cutting the LV off axis, and this creates a false apex. And so to correct this issue, you simply need to rotate the probe, and we can look back up here, and we can see that the LV cavity is nice and open. Similarly, what can happen if we tilt off axis, and by tilting we're going along the short axis of the probe as such, and if we tilt off axis enough, we start obtaining the papillary muscles of the mitral valve leaflet, and notice how much smaller the cavity is. In this case, even though we are parallel to the long axis of the heart, we are not cutting through the center of the heart. So the correct motion here is going to be to tilt the probe until the papillary muscles are gone. So in summary, the LV cavity needs to be wide open. The rotational motion will cause, rotation off axis will cause a apical view to be capped. And then if we are parallel to the long axis, but the beam is not centered, we will then obtain the papillary muscles, which also gives you a falsely smaller LV cavity.